All right, everybody, welcome back to the Horn Takes podcast. Your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. It's Combination Monday. It's a short week again. So we're doing Combination Monday instead of Exaggeration Monday. We'll exaggerate a little bit today. We'll also do some after action review today. That right there is how you do that, Texas Longhorns. That game Saturday night is how you go out, leave no doubt, and just absolutely clown stomp a team that you guys are supposed to clown stomp. And we haven't seen that really at all this season. I mean, I think we saw a really good second half against Kansas that legged that game out and led to a pretty good beating. But that right there, folks, that's how you beat up on inferior to competition. And maybe this Texas team just needed to do that to feel what it felt like to do that and understand how you have to do that. Texas runs Texas Tech back up through Lubbock with a 57-7 ass whipping in the final regular season stop on the Big 12 Fuck You Tour. Texas perfect 6-0 against the Hateful Eight. They get a chance to make it 7-0 this Saturday. Let's do our Trace Otra games recap today. We'll also do a deep dive tomorrow. Because of that short week, we'll deep dive into Oklahoma State. Then we'll have prediction Thursday. All of the picks will be done. All of the content on the picks will be up on Friday because we are getting on a plane Saturday morning and flying to Dallas to go check out that game in Arlington. We'll do a lot of that stuff today. And we'll also talk about some stupid things college football fans say. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, check us out at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify. It's all there. Trace Ultra Games recap, week 13. Coming in 25-11. Having some really, really good weeks coming into this one. See how we did this week. We had number 11 Oregon State at number 6 Oregon. We thought the only way Oregon State was going to win this game was if they could run the ball a lot, kind of control the tempo of the game with their running game, and then score a lot. Basically just own the ball the whole time and score touchdowns. They did none of that. They had 53 rushing yards. This was a game that I think a lot of Texas fans would have liked to have seen go the other way. Would have definitely helped a lot with the playoff chances for the Texas Longhorns. But we had Oregon winning this one. We didn't think it was going to happen. 31-17 is what we chose, what we picked. We got the Oregon score right, but we way overestimated what Oregon State might do. They only scored 7 points. Oregon wins this one 31-7. 1-0. Number 2, Ohio State at number 3, Michigan. Man, we thought Ohio State had better athletes on the outside offensively. We thought McCord and Harrison Jr. would sort of have themselves a day. And looking back on this game, I think every single bit of that happened. I think the McCord interceptions, the 2 interceptions, were probably the difference in this game. We had Ohio State with the upset on the road, 24-20. Michigan ends up pulling it out 30-24 with the last, few seconds interception when Ohio State was certainly down there with an opportunity to win the game. I believe the interception happened inside the 25-yard line. So we called that one pretty close too. We just had it backwards. So now we're 1-1. Rubber match. Aggie at number 15, LSU. We had LSU winning this one 27-20. We thought the defenses would play. We thought this Texas A&M defense against this LSU offense was a really fun matchup. We talked about how, LSU's offense has probably not played a front 4, front 7 as good as Texas A&M's all season. And then on the flip side, we talked about just how bad LSU's defense is. how okay, I guess, Texas A&M's offense is. We had LSU winning this one 27-20. Of course, they go on to win it 42-30. Texas A&M was leading this game at halftime, and it was kind of a back and forth deal early in the second half. I guess I don't know what happened. I was listening to it. Actually, I wouldn't even listen to it. I was listening to the Ohio State and Michigan game on the radio coming back from Austin, and I would flip up on my Sirius just to see what the score was of this one. At some point, looked like fourth quarter, LSU got the ball back a bunch of times and was able to score touchdowns. 3 touchdown passes there in the fourth quarter, I believe, for Jaden Daniels. So we go 2-1 in week 13, 27-12 on the season. Guys, don't forget to check us out on the socials on Friday for our championship edition Trace Otra games. We will do everything but the ACC champion. I don't know. We may do that one. We probably will. You know what we might not do? We might not do the Big Ten championship, because wouldn't that just be silly? I mean, does anybody think Iowa has an opportunity to beat Michigan? I guess that's why you play the games. We did our 4 keys and a prediction for the Texas Longhorn versus Texas Tech game last Friday. Let's go through that a little bit and see how we did on our keys, see if they mattered, and our prediction. Number 1 key for me was stop Taj Brooks. I thought he's obviously the leading rusher in the country coming into that game, or close to it, one of the top 5. Really, really good running back. Texas did not stop him. He had 95 yards on 19 carries, so 5 yards per carry. 45 of that was in the first quarter. So from the first quarter on, he had 10 more carries, 50 more yards. I think Texas slowed him down just enough that he really didn't have any sort of impact on the game. And I think the fact that the game got away from Texas Tech there in the second quarter really made it a lot easier on the Texas defense. And it wouldn't just be the Texas defense, it'd be any defense. You're just not going to run the ball a lot when you're down a lot. Really like Taj Brooks. It was fun to watch him live. He's a big kid and very, very physical. I mean, Texas showed up in numbers to tackle this guy, and they had to. I finally looked up how big he is, because I've been saying it like the last 2 or 3 shows, how I thought he was big. I thought he was going to be a physical guy, hard to tackle. He's 5'10", 230 pounds, so he's a beast. That's a lot of man coming at you. And so much of that weight, I feel like, is in his lower, like his legs, man, his trunk. His legs are freaking big. So Texas wasn't able to stop him. They slowed him down enough, and they kind of stopped him by default by just scoring a lot of points and kind of getting Texas Tech to the point where they weren't just going to be able to pound the rock. Key number 2, we thought Texas had to hit the long ball, and they didn't. Ewers and Arch Manning both missed on a couple. A few between them, let's say that. Honestly, not a ton of opportunities. They didn't really take a lot of shots downfield. But when they did, the balls were just not accurate. Not on time, not accurate. Just didn't look good. So I guess hit the long ball really wasn't a key to that game. Protect the red zone. Texas Tech was 1 for 1 in their lone red zone opportunity, and they got a touchdown. I think really what the Texas defense did, instead of protecting the red zone, is they kind of protected it by just not letting Texas Tech into the red zone. I still feel like that one was a key. The stats don't bear it out. I don't give a fuck. That was a key. Absolutely had to protect the red zone, and they did. They just didn't do it the way we anticipated they might have to. Key number 4, and I think this one showed up big time, win the situations. Man, we've been talking about these situations on offense or defense, mostly on defense, all season long, really since the Oklahoma game. End of the first half, beginning of the second half, obviously the end of the game in a tight game. You got to win those. And Texas absolutely won those. End of the first half, they get a big 4th down stop. They get a field goal. I think there was a minute and change left. Texas Tech decides to go for it. Texas is able to stop them on 4th and 2. Big play by Anthony Hill Jr. They get down the field just enough to get a field goal attempt. And I believe it was Bert Auburn's 54-yarder that he nailed right there. Beginning of the second half, opening kickoffs return 95 yards for a touchdown by Keelan Robinson. Texas immediately forces a 3-and-out. So both offensively and defensively, Texas won those situations. The end of the first half, the beginning of the second half, huge swing in points. Can you imagine being Texas Tech, going into the locker room, you're down 26-7. Things have not gone your way. The coaching staff says, we got a plan. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and execute this plan, and we're going to win. Because that's what coaching staff should do. Coaching staff shouldn't go in there and go, man, we're fucked, which is probably what they were thinking. But it's their job to figure out something, get that team bought into it, get them out on the field and get ready to go. So I have no doubt that's what they did. And then a 95-yard kickoff return on the opening kickoff. That was it. That was game, folks. That made it 33-7. And from that point on, Texas Tech just pretty much quit. Texas was able to close the game out a little bit of the third quarter, the entire fourth quarter, with Arch Manning handing the ball off to Trey Wisner and Savion Red behind the backup offensive line. And they moved the ball and they scored points. So we talked about, when it's time to run the game, when it's time to run the ball, can we run the ball? Yeah, absolutely they could. Absolutely they could. And they did it with two guys. Trey Wisner hasn't had a carry all season. Savion Red has had limited action in the Wild Red or whatever the hell they call it, Wildcat, which they haven't done in a while because it just kind of sputtered, kind of ran its course. I think maybe Red has had a couple carries from the running back position, maybe from like a slot position. But essentially, these are two guys that haven't carried the ball this season. They ran it really well. I mean, they ran it right down Tech's throat, and they did it with the backup offensive lineman in there. Talked about third downs, fourth down type stuff. Fourth downs killed Texas last season up in Lubbock. Texas Tech was 3 of 13 on third downs and 0 for 1 on fourth downs in this game. Man, the defense just really, really freaking good in this game. The Horn Takes podcast score predictor said it would be a blowout, but it had no idea that it was going to be this much of a blowout. The predictor said 35-17 Texas. I decided to put a pick in for myself, which I've done twice this season. I don't normally do it, but I've done it twice since we figured out this score predictor. And I said 31-23 with Texas pulling ahead late. With that running game. We were both wrong. Let's talk about this offense in this game. 528 total yards, which is impressive. And then you go to this next stat, 302 yards on the ground, 7 yards per carry average, 3 touchdowns. That's like an old school country ass whipping right there. And again, the fact that they did it, the starting running back was out basically the second half. So Texas, and I don't know how many yards they had on the ground to that point. I know Jaden Blue had busted off like a 67-yarder, 69-yarder at that point. I don't know the exact split on where they were at, but they got a lot of yards in the second half with a guy that started the season as the third or fourth running back on the depth chart. And then They added in the 4th, 5th, or 6th guys in there on the depth chart and just kept plugging right along. 226 yards passing, 1 touchdown for Quinn Ewers. Ewers had an okay night. 17 for 26, 196 yards. Did have a touchdown. 65% completion percentage. Did throw the 1 pick in the end zone. Didn't like that at all. Underthrown ball bad. It was interesting. He had a play to Worthy where he could have really, put it on a rope earlier in the game that he kind of gave too much air. It pushed Worthy out. Would have been an easy touchdown. And then on a play where you need to put some air under the ball, because Mitchell's got his man beat. You just got to get it out past both of them. Let Mitchell go get the ball. He threw a really flat pass that gets picked off. Oh, well. Shit happens. Players that popped offensively, Jaden Blue, 10 carries, 121 yards, and a touchdown. 2 catches for 14 yards. This dude, man, I don't like to brag. I don't like to be the guy that says I told you so. But I told you so. This guy, when I saw him in the spring game, folks, he was like one of the top running backs in the country his senior year, or really his junior year. He skipped his senior year because of COVID. He dropped from a 5-star to a 4-star. This is a talented kid. And the knock on him so far this year has been, well, he's not that big. He's listed at 6 foot, 190 pounds. I mean, that's not big. It's not small. And he had 1 fumble late in the game against Baylor, I believe. So all of a sudden now he's a fumble problem. And that's been the knock on Jaden Blue like all season. He's different. He's even different than Jonathan Brooks. He is certainly more physically talented, in my opinion, than CJ Baxter. I think he's more physically talented than Jonathan Brooks. Now, I'm not saying he's a better running back than Jonathan Brooks. He certainly has more speed and more wiggle than either one of those two guys. If he gets loose, he's gone. You are not catching him. I've seen it. We've seen it twice this season where normal guys might have got tackled, at least would have gotten someone with a hand on him and attempted tackle, and he just ran right past it. I'm happy for Jaden Blue that he got an opportunity and he's made big on that opportunity. Because you could see where a guy like that could start to get frustrated with his role. I think that's the biggest challenge for all these college players. They're all used to being the badass in high school, and now they got to go, and not all of them are going to be the badass, at least not to start. Hell of a game by Jaden Blue. Trey Wisner popped 7 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown, 8.6 yards per carry. Trey Wisner's a guy out of that 2023 class that I said, man, I like him as an offensive dark horse, and we haven't seen him. He's been amazing on special teams. He had a really big special teams tackle in this game, and it's not the only one. He's had a lot of good tackles on kickoff team this season. Kind of been a headhunter as far as that goes. Trey's another versatile guy. He can play in the slot. He can play running back. Really good to see him get some offensive carries and make the best of them. It's good to see those guys. They work hard. And when we start screaming about why can't we blow players out or why can't we blow teams out, that's why we want to blow teams out. Not only do we want to see these guys play, but we want those guys to get some reward for all the hard work they've been putting in all season long. So it's frustrating. Frustrating for me when we can't go in there and just kick somebody's ass we should be kicking. And in those types of situations, you're probably not giving the ball to Trey Wisner. You're not putting Arch Manning out there. Number 3 players that popped that offensive line, every last damn one of them that played in this game. 302 yards, 7 yards per carry. They absolutely own the line of scrimmage. And you could not tell a difference between the first team and the second team. They just ran right over the top of Texas Tech. Really amazing what this Texas staff has done. Steve Sarkisian, Kyle Flood, getting these guys in the program. First of all, getting them in the program. The 2022 class is running shit right now. And they're just starting to stack more and more in behind them. But you got to get them there, and then you got to develop them. We talk all the time about development's not a one-way street. Like, it's not just the coach that does it. The players have to buy into it. They have to do the work. Obviously, the coaching staff's doing their job. Obviously, these players are doing their jobs. Kudos to that offensive line, man. Big time game. Big time game. To me, Ewers still looks a little uncomfortable on some of his throws. Like, I feel like there's still got to be some pain there, maybe. There's still some, I don't know, a hitch in the giddy up, whatever you want to call it. It's not all there right now. I think he's, like I said, I think he's got to be still playing with some kind of pain. I think he's doing a really good job, though. He's great on the short to intermediate stuff right now. I mean, he is nails. Just a little bit of struggle with that deep ball, man. And it's there. That's the frustrating part about that, too. It's there. Just got to figure out a way to start making it happen. Defense, holy shit. That's how you play defense for 4 quarters. We've seen this defense have some really, really good first halves. And then in the second halves, at least here lately, we've seen them just kind of soften up, lose focus. I don't know everything that's going on, obviously. They just have not played well. They did on Saturday night or Friday night, 198 total yards, 110 on the ground, 88 through the air. And this Texas defense was giving up 250 something yards per game coming into this game, passing 88. 3 interceptions. Really, really good game. And I'm going to say it. You go back and look at the film, go back and rewatch this game. Even when the score got ugly, they did not just drop a bunch of players off the line of scrimmage. They did not just, it wasn't just super soft coverage. I mean, they mixed it in there, but it wasn't an exclusive thing. Players that popped defensively, Jet Bush. Big sack early on in the game. Interception return for a touchdown. Jet Bush is a guy, man, he looks totally different this year playing edge instead of linebacker. He's a walk-on, I believe. Many years ago at the University of Texas, under Tom Herman, I'm almost positive. Was a linebacker and just never looked good at linebacker. Just out of position, just didn't look athletic enough to make it work at linebacker. So they spent him down to edge this season. And man, he's actually had a really good season. Looks like a completely, I mean, he looks like a dude. He looks like a dude. He looks like, I don't know how you explain it. He looks like he belongs out there on the field, and he absolutely has. Justice Finkley, another backup edge guy. Really nothing on the stat line for Justice at all. Not a single thing. But he got after the quarterback all night long. Tons of pressure by Justice Finkley off the edge. And he messed up a lot of run plays for Texas Tech by setting the edge. taking on those pulling guards. Big game for Justice Finkley. You hear it all the time. He didn't make the play, but he made the play. Justice Finkley did that shit all night long against Texas Tech. Had to have been his best game of the season, no doubt. And he's looking a lot scarier on pass rush. Another player that popped, Derek Williams, 6 tackles, flying all over the freaking place. Man, that dude likes to hit people. He's a sure for a freshman, he comes up and makes tackles. Anthony Hill Jr., 4 tackles and a sack. What do you say about it? I mean, he's so versatile, man. He can play the run game from a linebacker position. He can blitz the quarterback from the linebacker position. You can line him up at edge and he can blitz the quarterback. They've done that with him this season. And he's figured out pass coverage. He's starting to really be around the ball, even in zone coverage. Made a hell of a play on a 4th and 2 in the first half. That dude's scary. And then finally, my boy, Alfred Collins, 5 tackles. Man, was he disruptive. He was, just everything you thought Alfred Collins could always be, he did it on Friday night. He caused an interception on Friday night by being right in Baron Morton's face, making him just lob the ball up instead of really being able to set his feet and get the ball out there. He was after Baron Morton's ass. If Finkley wasn't on him, Alfred Collins was on him. He's just banging around in the middle on run plays, just knocking people all over the damn place, bouncing off offensive linemen, just trashing up the whole thing. Really, really good game by Alfred Collins. Finally, Alfred Collins. Let's go. You figured it out. Let's go. I think defensively, this was by far the most complete game they've played. I mean, they dominated the line of scrimmage. They slowed down the run enough. They got pressure on the quarterback consistently all night long. Only turned that into 2 sacks. But like I said, they did force that 1 interception for sure. And then the defense held up on the back end, which is something we haven't seen in a long, long time. Special teams kickoff coverage was off, 25 yards per return. Not sure if that was the game plan or if the kicker's leg is just broke. I don't know why you would just kind of let them return the ball over and over. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is on that. Cost them the shutout, I think. Got a really long return there in the first quarter that they were able to convert into some points. Their only points. Shit can that, Jeff Banks. Let's not do that, man. Let's get this thing in the back of the end zone and just be done with it. Let's let them have it at the 25-yard line. Bert Auburn goes 5 for 5, including a career-long 54-yarder. Man, he banged that too. That would have been good from 60 easily. 19 straight field goals in a row after Bert Auburn struggled a little bit at the midpoint of early season. It's a Texas record. Obviously, the big kickoff return for a touchdown by Keelan Robinson. They scored every freaking possible way this season you can score on special teams. Punt return, kick return, block kick, block punt. Obviously, extra points and field goals. Final thoughts on this Texas Tech game. Complete team win. They scored in all 3 phases. They dominated the entire game. I think, again, this is the type of game this team is capable of doing. The type of beating they're capable of putting on people every single week. It was really awesome to see some of these seniors make some big plays in this game. We talked about Bush with the sack and the interception return touchdown. Keelan Robinson got him a touchdown run on a backwards pass. Really just a long sweep, right? Got the kickoff return for a touchdown. Jordan Whittington caught 4 passes for 41 yards. I'm sure there's some other guys I'm missing out there. But those are the ones that, like, as we're watching the game, I'm just so happy for those 3 dudes Man, Jett Bush was a freaking Texas Longhorn fan whipping boy, including myself, man. Like, every time he would go out on the field, I was like, get Jett Bush off the field. He stuck with it. He was willing to accept a position change very late in his career. And he just went out and did it, man. So congratulations to him. Keelan Robinson's been a guy that's, he transferred from Alabama, was one of the best running backs in the country out of high school. Had to play behind a lot of other good running backs at the University of Texas. Has never been the featured guy. But all he's done is, when he gets chances, go out there and freaking make plays. So kudos to him, man. And then you can't say enough about Jordan Whittington that hasn't already been said. Just, Roshan Johnson Jr. right there. Whatever it takes, coach, that's what I'll do. Red zone touchdown scoring woes continue. 8 trips to the red zone, only 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 field goals, and then 1 turnover on downs. Got to fix that. I think Texas cleans up the penalties and finds the long ball. And they're going to be really tough to beat down the stretch. False starts, got to stop them, man. That's just like the easiest shit to do, and it cost us points on Friday night. And then going back to the long ball, I think they're going to have to hit some long passes to win the Big 12 championship game, and I think they're going to have to do it whatever postseason looks like for them, whether it's a bowl or whether they do get into the college football playoff. To be successful, they're going to have to hit some of that stuff. Quick and dirty, Oklahoma State, number 7 Texas versus number 19 Oklahoma State, for a chance at the first Big 12 championship since 2009 for Texas, and an opportunity to go 7-0 against the Hateful Eight in the year of the Big 12 Fuck You Tour. Texas is 11-1, Okie State 9-3 heading into this one. Texas leads this series 26-11, but Oklahoma State has won 7 of the last 10. Couple teams that have taken advantage of Texas during this decade-long drought: TCU, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State comes in, with the nation's leading rusher, Ollie Gordon, almost 1,600 yards rushing. Flip it around, Texas has the 4th best rushing defense in the country. Texas opens up as a big favorite, 14.5 points. I thought the Tech line was too big. I think this one's too big. But I think if Texas plays like they did against Texas Tech, they'll cover this line easy. Stupid things college football fans say. So we're driving home. Excuse me, folks. We're driving home Saturday morning. My wife's scrolling through Facebook. We live in Lubbock, so we have a lot of friends, obviously, from Lubbock on Facebook. And so, you know how Facebook, suggested for you. It was I think it was Pete Christie. Said something about how, Tech dropped the last in the rivalry against Texas. And she was going through the comments and found this one comment. And I guess it's a lady. I hope it's a lady. If this was a dude, man. So after the game, Texas played on loop the Brett Yormark comments about, I'm going to be down in Austin, not putting any pressure on you, coach, but you need to take care of business on the big screen. I don't remember hearing it, but apparently some Texas fans started the SEC chant. And so this person really did not like that, and went on to say that Texas disrespected the Big 12 at the end of that game. The Big 12 should disqualify Texas from playing in the Big 12 title game and let the next 2 teams play for it. Some 2 teams that will respect the Big 12. They went on to describe the Texas Tech versus Texas rivalry as a back and forth rivalry. No, lady. Texas didn't disrespect anybody. Big 12 executives have been disrespecting Texas since the media days this summer. They've been openly rooting against Texas. The deputy commissioner made all these dumbass comments about it's really just a perception of who you're losing to. Texas would rather go lose to Alabama or Florida than Kansas State or Iowa State, who, by the way, we've lost to none of those teams this season. Played 3 of them. The Hateful Eight fan bases have just been, I mean, frankly, they've just been fucking nasty to Texas fans and players for like a decade. And then really, you know, like the kick them while they're down mentality, big time. And then once the SEC announcement happened, it just ramped up. It just escalated. And it really pisses them off because Texas fans, we don't give a fuck about your need to be our rival. We're not your rival. You might think it's a rivalry, Texas Tech fans, but it's not for Texas, and it never has been. It was just time to pay the piper. You had your moments where you got to go, ha ha, Texas, y'all suck. And the Big 12 got to, ha ha, we want someone else besides Texas to win. Yeah, y'all had that. It happens sometimes, and when it does, that team, that group of fans, and that entity that were just openly rooting against the team you shouldn't openly root against, you always had to pay the piper, and that's all that happened on Friday night. Texas Tech paid the piper on the field. The Big 12 got to pay the piper after the game. You Tech fans been running your damn mouths for a decade about how much of a rivalry it is with the Texas and how Texas ruined this and Texas ruined that. Folks, this is not a back and forth rivalry at all. Texas Tech has won 5 times in this century against Texas. Last night was much more indicative of this rivalry. Friday night was much more indicative of this rivalry than any of the wins Tech has had. So finally, Tech fans, y'all don't have anything else to say. Hopefully we don't have to listen to y'all piss and moan about Texas anymore. And by the way, there's a raging debate amongst Texas fans. Should we play Texas Tech? I say no. I say don't give them any platform to sort of bring their program up. Saw a guy on TikTok. I've been doing a ton of videos about, this whole one-loss team situation. Why is Oregon ranked ahead of Texas and Alabama? There's the scenario where Alabama could go on and beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. What does that do for them? Da 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 da. So I've been getting all kinds of pretty funny comments, as you can imagine. Well, I had a guy the other day ask me, why is Texas ranked ahead? This is literally like the other day. So, like, I'm pretty sure it was Saturday. Texas is 11-1, headed to the Big 12 championship game. Oklahoma's 9-2 and not headed to the Big 12 championship game. And someone asked me, why is Texas ranked ahead of Oklahoma then? They beat them. Because the argument indicatively, the argument goes back to, well, Texas beat Alabama. Why are we even talking about, what is all this conversation about? Oh, well, A&M would win today, or excuse me, Alabama would win today. I just feel like Alabama would win today. They've evolved. They're just better. And that is carrying more weight with people, and not just dumbass people on the internet, like legitimate, like talking heads. Oh, I just think Alabama's better today. They'd beat Texas on a neutral field. So you're, again, they're providing more weight to just some perception they have that you can't prove by any measure over what actually fucking happened on a football field. And by the way, it was Alabama's football field. And by the way, it was a place that nobody had beat them in 53 fucking tries under Nick Saban. What you think might happen on a neutral field now is all of a sudden got more weight than what really happened on a not neutral field. And it wasn't a close game. And it wasn't no last second win. Texas went up 10 points with 7 minutes left in that game and then just ran the clock out on Alabama. Anyways, Oklahoma's a 2-loss team. Texas is a 1-loss team. That's why they're not ranked ahead of them, dumbass. You guys want to talk about, oh, the whole season's got to matter. And I agree, the whole season does got to matter. But if you ever have a situation where two teams have the same record and one of them beat the other one, and you put the other one ahead, you put the loser ahead of the winner, you have an illegitimate system. 100%. Can't even be debated. That's stupid things fans say. There'll be a lot more over the course of this week. I can't wait. It's going to be chaotic. A lot of people are going to say a lot of dumb shit. Check us out tomorrow. We'll do Deep Dive Tuesday. We'll have Sean's 4 big questions of the game headed into this Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State. We'll take a deep look at Texas and Oklahoma State on paper. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Please follow and subscribe. Won't cost you guys a thing. We appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. Goodbye, Texas Tech. Get hooked.